Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, we are gonna be finishing this because it was interrupted last time. My house is gonna have some visitors, so I don't think that I'll be able to continue this series for a while. But I'll probably just drive away and continue the series in my car. So anyway, Raskolnikov did not sit down, but he did not want to leave. He stood there indecisively in front of her. This boulevard was unusually empty, and on such a hot day, past 1 o'clock, there was almost no one about. And yet off to one side, on the edge of the street 15 steps or so away, a gentleman was lingering, who evidently also wanted very much to approach the girl, with intentions of his own. He, too, had probably noticed her at a distance and overtaken her, but now Raskolnikov prevented him from following through. He threw angry glances at the young man, but covertly, impatiently awaiting his opportunity when this annoying tramp would be gone. It was clear. The gentleman was a thick-set, stout, quite fashionably dressed man of about 30, with a strawberry and cream complexion, rosy lips, and a small mustache. Raskolnikov lost his temper. Suddenly, he wanted to insult the fat dandy in some way. He left the girl for a moment and went up to the gentleman. "Hey, you, Svidrigailov, what are you up to here?" he shouted, clenching his fists and laughing, his mouth foaming with rage. "And what is the meaning of this?" the gentleman asked sternly, frowning, with a look of haughty astonishment. "Get out of here, that's what! How dare you, you scum!" He brandished his cane. Raskolnikov rushed at him with his fist, without even considering that the thickest gentleman was more than a match for two like him. But at that moment, someone seized him powerfully from behind. Between them stood a policeman. "That's enough, gentlemen. No fighting in public spaces." He turned sternly to Raskolnikov, having noticed his rags. "What are you up to? Who are you?" Raskolnikov looked at him intently. He had a frank soldier's face, with a grey mustache and whiskers, and a sensible look about him. "You're just the man I want," he exclaimed, seizing the policeman by the hand. "I'm a former student. My name's Raskolnikov." He turned to the thickest gentleman. "You might as well know that, too. But, officer, come here. I'll show you something." Having taken the policeman by the hand, he dragged him to the bench. "Here, look, she's drunk. She's been walking along the boulevard. God knows who she is or where she's from, but she doesn't look like she's in the trade. Most likely somebody got her drunk somewhere and seduced her for the first time, understand? And then he just dumped her out on the street. Look at how her dress is torn. Look at how it was put on. She was dressed, you see. She didn't dress herself. And the hands that dressed her were pretty clumsy at the job. Man's hands, that's clear. Now look over here. This dandy I was about to tangle with. I don't know him. I see him for the first time. But he noticed her on the street just now too, drunk as she was, lost in a daze. And he wanted very much to come up and grab her in the state she's in and take her off somewhere. It's true, I assure you. I am not mistaken. I saw him myself, watching and following her. Only I got in this way and he was waiting for me to leave. So he went off to the side a bit and pretended to roll a cigarette. What do you say we don't let him have her? Let's think how we can get her home." The policeman understood the situation immediately. The thickest gentleman was easy to understand. There remained the girl. He bent over to examine her more closely, and a look of sincere compassion came to his face. "Ah, what a pity," he said, shaking his head. "Why, she's only a kid. She be seduced, that's clear. Listen, miss," he began calling her, "where do you live?" The girl opened her tired, bleary eyes, looked dully at her questioners, and waved them away. "Listen," said Raskolnikov. "Here." He fumbled in his pocket and dug out 20 kopecks he found there. "Take it. Call a cab and ask him to drive her home. But we've got to know the address." "Miss, miss," the policeman began again, having taken the money. "I'm going to call a cab now, and I'm going to take you home myself. Where to? Where do you live?" "Go away, pisser me," the girl muttered, and again she waved them away. "Oh, it's bad, it's bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Oh, miss, what a shame." Again he shook his head, shocked, sympathetic, and indignant. "There's a job, though." Turning to Raskolnikov, he gave him a quick, sharp look from the head to foot. He, too, seemed a strange figure, dressed in such rags and handing out money. "Where do you find them? Was it far from here?" he asked the young man. "I tell you, she was walking in front of me, staggering down the boulevard. As soon as she got to the bench, she collapsed." "Oh, the shame that's done in the world now. Lord, a little kid like that. And look at her, drunk, seduced, that's how it was. And you can see the dress is torn. The lewdness nowadays. She looks like she's from a good family, too. Maybe poor. Nowadays there are many like that. She looks delicate, too, like she was a lady." And once again he bent over her. Perhaps he, too, had daughters who looked delicate like ladies, with genteel manners and pretensions to fashion. The main thing, pleaded Raskolnikov, is not to let her fall into the hands of this scoundrel. Why should he too outrage her? What he wants is clear. Look at the scoundrel, he's not going away. Raskolnikov spoke loudly and pointed straight at the man, who listened and seemed to want to make a show of anger again, but thought better of it, limiting himself to a single contemptuous glance. He walked away another 10 steps and once more paused. No, we won't let her fall into his hands, the policeman replied, thinking aloud. If only she'd stay where to take her. Miss, our miss, and he bent over her again. She suddenly opened her eyes wide, looked about intently as though something had just sunk in, rose from the bench, and crossed over the side of the street from which she had come. Brazen pestering, she said, waving them off once more. She walked quickly, but as before, staggering a lot. The dandy followed her, if not immediately, without letting her out of his sight. Don't worry, the policeman said decisively. I won't let him, and he followed. The lewdness nowadays, he said. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. It says scam likely. Let me read out the number for you guys in case it's a scam. 774-250-0784. Let me take this call.